Have you ever wondered why there are people out there making $100,000, even $200,000 a year, yet they are completely broke, stressed out, and living paycheck to paycheck? Meanwhile, there is someone making a very average, modest salary who quietly builds a multi-million-dollar net worth over time. What is the actual difference? The system wants you to believe that the secret to wealth is just making a massive salary. But the truth is, the top 1% of wealthy people understand a fundamental rule. If you do not own things that make you money, you will always be owned by the things that cost you money. Wealth isn't about your income. It is entirely about your allocation. Welcome back to another episode of Grow with Tony. I am so pumped you are here with me today because we are going to dive deep into something that completely shifted the trajectory of my life. And I promise you, if you actually apply the blueprint we talk about today, it will absolutely change yours too. Quick disclaimer, before we jump in, I am sharing my personal financial blueprint and educational concepts today, so please remember this is not official financial advice. All right, let's get into it. Today, we're talking about escaping the modern-day trap. Because, let's be incredibly honest with ourselves for a second. The way most of society operates today is basically a highly decorated hamster wheel. You work incredibly hard all month, you get paid, you feel rich for about exactly one weekend, and then the bills hit. The rent, the car payment, the subscriptions, the groceries. Suddenly, you are broke again, anxiously waiting for the next payday, and forced to work even harder just to keep your head above water. It feels like you are suffocating, right? You have the illusion of freedom because you can buy a nice coffee or a new pair of sneakers, but you are effectively chained to your paycheck. If you want to break that chain and start managing your money like the wealthiest 1% of society, you have to completely rewire how you look at a dollar bill. Every dollar you earn is an employee. And right now, you are firing your employees the second you hire them by giving them to other companies. We are going to fix that today with what I call the 25-15-50-10 framework. I designed this rule so that anyone, literally no matter what your current income is, can build sustainable wealth. It doesn't matter if you are flipping burgers right now, driving an Uber, or running a corporate department. This mathematical breakdown is the ultimate equalizer. So, grab a pen and paper if you can, because we are diving right into the very first bucket. This is where 25% of your income needs to go. I call this the Freedom Fund. This is your growth bucket. Whenever a paycheck hits your bank account, before you pay your landlord, before you buy your groceries, and definitely before you open Amazon, 25% immediately goes to work for you. It is no longer your money to spend. It is your money to plant. When I say growth, I don't mean buying a new designer suit so you look more successful at the office. I mean acquiring true assets. An asset is simply something that goes up in value over time or puts cash in your pocket every single month. Assets are little money-making machines that work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They don't complain, they don't need a coffee break, and they never call in sick. While you are sleeping, your assets are awake, grinding for you. A lot of people hear 25% and immediately panic. They say, "Tony, I don't have 25% of my income left over at the end of the month." And that is exactly the problem. You are trying to invest what is left over after spending. The wealthy spend what is left over after investing. You have to pay yourself first. Let me paint a picture for you with a story about two friends. Let's call them Sarah and Mike. Sarah realized early on that she needed to buy her freedom. She didn't want to work until she was 70 just to survive. So, at age 22, she started putting just $250 a month into an S&P 500 index fund. If you don't know what that is, it's just a basket of the 500 biggest companies in America. Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, all wrapped into one investment. It's safe, steady, and historically powerful. Sarah just set up an automatic transfer and forgot about it. She did this consistently, month after month. Mike, on the other hand, was the life of the party. He wanted to live for the moment. You only live once, right? He bought the nice cars, took the expensive trips on credit cards, and waited until he was 35 to even start thinking about the future. Realizing he was drastically behind, he panicked. He started putting $500 a month into the exact same fund. He was investing double what Sarah was investing, desperately trying to catch up. Fast forward to when they both turned 65 and are looking to retire. Who do you think ended up with a better life? Let's look at the math. Mike invested a total of $180,000 out of his own pocket over his 30-year sprint. Sarah, because she started earlier, only put in $129,000 out of her pocket over her lifetime. But she gave it time. Assuming a standard historical market return of around 8 to 10%, Mike ends up with roughly $1.1 million. Not bad at all. He survived. But Sarah? Because she started earlier and let the magic of compound interest do the heavy lifting, she walks away with over $1.8 million. She invested significantly less of her own hard-earned money, but ended up almost $700,000 richer than Mike. That is the absolute superpower of the 25% bucket. Time in the market always beats timing the market. You don't need to be a Wall Street genius looking at charts all day. You don't need to pick the next Tesla or the next crazy crypto coin. In fact, you probably shouldn't. Keep it boring. Boring investing makes millionaires. You can put this money into low-cost index funds, real estate investment trusts, or honestly, the absolute best investment you can make right now, your own high-income skills. If you take $1,000 and put it in the stock market, you might make $100 in a year. But if you take that $1,000 and buy a course to learn high-ticket sales, copywriting, software development, or digital marketing, you could increase your yearly income by $30, $40, or $50,000. That is an infinite return on investment. The knowledge you put in your brain is the one asset that inflation cannot touch and no market crash can ever take away from you. So that is bucket number one. But what happens when the weather gets rough? What happens when a massive storm hits those seeds you just planted? That brings us directly to our second bucket. 15% of your income absolutely must go towards stability. I want you to think of this as your financial armor. A lot of financial gurus will tell you to invest every single penny you have into the market. I completely disagree, and I learned this lesson the hardest way possible. A few years ago, I had a buddy who was a phenomenally talented freelance video editor. He was crushing it, making great money, paying low rent, and aggressively putting almost all his spare cash into crypto and high-growth tech stocks. He felt totally invincible. He looked rich on paper. Then, one rainy Tuesday morning, he reached across his desk and accidentally spilled a full, venti-sized cup of hot coffee directly onto his maxed-out, ridiculously expensive MacBook Pro. The computer sizzled and died instantly. And here is where the nightmare began. Because he was so obsessed with investing, he had zero liquid cash savings. Nothing. He couldn't just walk into an Apple store and buy a new machine to finish his client projects that were due that Friday. He was forced into a corner. He had to sell a massive chunk of his investments right during a week when the market was completely crashing, taking a massive loss just to get the cash for a replacement computer. The stress ruined him for a month, and because he missed deadlines, he lost 3 of his biggest, highest-paying clients. Do not let this be you. Most people don't actually have a money problem. They have a stability problem. One unexpected hospital bill, one blown car transmission, or one layoff, and their entire financial house of cards collapses. A lack of stability will completely destroy your long-term growth. So, 15% of your income needs to funnel directly into a stability fund until you have exactly 5 months of bare minimum living expenses saved up. Notice I said bare minimum. I want you to sit down tonight and calculate what it costs for you to simply survive. Your rent or mortgage, basic groceries, not steak, just basic food, electricity, water, and internet because you need it to work. Total that number up. Let's say it's $2,000 a month. Multiply that by 5. $10,000 is your target. This money is sacred, and it has 3 very strict rules. Number 1, you must be able to access it within 24 hours. Do not lock it away in a 5-year bond or a retirement account where they penalize you for taking it out early. When an emergency hits, you need speed, not bureaucracy. Number 2, it takes 0 risk. Whatever you do not put your emergency fund into the stock market. Not even the safe stuff. Why? Because the very event that causes you to lose your job, like a global recession, is usually the exact same event that causes the stock market to crash. You never want to be forced to sell your assets at the bottom of the market just to buy groceries. Number 3, it should still earn a little bit of money while it sits there. Don't leave it under your mattress or in a traditional checking account paying 0.01% interest. Inflation will eat it alive. Put it in a high-yield savings account. There are plenty of reputable online banks offering 4 or 5% interest with 0 risk and full access to your funds. Let it sit there and quietly compound. Once you finally hit that 5-month target, you are bulletproof. You will sleep better than you have in your entire life. And the best part, once that bucket is full, you can take that 15% and roll it straight over into your growth bucket, supercharging your investments to 40%. But until then, build the armor. All right, So 25% is actively growing your wealth, and 15% is standing guard to protect it. That takes up 40% of your pie. That leaves us with the biggest chunk goes to your essentials. This is the bucket where society completely drops the ball and where the middle class gets financially slaughtered. Most people allow their essentials to equal whatever their paycheck is. This is a deadly financial disease called lifestyle creep. It works like this. You get a promotion. You are making an extra $1,000 a month. Instead of investing that $1,000, you suddenly decide your perfectly fine apartment is too small. So you move into a luxury complex that costs an extra $600 a month. Then you look at your reliable paid-off Toyota and think, I'm a manager now. I deserve a Mercedes. So you take on a $600 a month car lease. Congratulations. You got a $1,000 raise, but you took on $1,200 in new monthly liabilities. You are actually poorer now than you were before the promotion. This is exactly why people making $200,000 a year are still sweating when their credit card bill arrives. They are trying to look wealthy instead of actually becoming wealthy. Wealth is not the cars you drive or the clothes you wear. True wealth is what you don't see. It's the investment accounts, the peace of mind, the freedom to quit a toxic job. To manage your money like the top 1%, you have to ruthlessly, and I mean ruthlessly, audit what is actually essential. Food, shelter, transportation to get to work, health insurance, basic utilities. That is it. Your Netflix, Hulu, and Spotify subscriptions? Not essential. Eating out at that trendy brunch spot every Sunday for $40? Not essential. Buying the brand new iPhone when your current one works perfectly fine? Definitely not essential. If you want to keep your lifestyle locked in under 50%, you have to aggressively attack your two biggest wealth-killing expenses, housing and transportation. Let's talk about cars. Car payments are arguably the biggest destroyer of middle-class wealth. People lease brand new cars for the temporary dopamine hit and the perceived status, but you are paying a massive premium on a depreciating liability. The second you drive a new car off the lot, it loses thousands of dollars in value. Do not buy a car to impress people you don't even like at traffic lights. Buy a reliable, slightly used vehicle where some other guy has already taken the massive depreciation hit. Drive it until the wheels fall off. If you live in a city, maybe get rid of the car entirely and use public transport. You'll save on insurance, gas, maintenance, and parking. It is a game changer. For housing, don't just accept yearly rent increases. Negotiate with your landlord. Most landlords would rather keep a good, quiet tenant than deal with the massive headache of listing the property, cleaning it, and risking a bad tenant. If rent is still too high, get a roommate. Or look into house hacking, buying a multifamily property, living in one unit, and having your tenants pay the mortgage. And here is a psychological trick I use to stop myself from buying stupid things that I think are essential but are actually just luxuries. I call it the 1-week wait. Whenever I am browsing online or scrolling through Instagram and I see something I want, maybe a new jacket, a gadget, whatever, and I add it to my cart, unless it is basic groceries or toilet paper, I force myself to close the laptop or put the phone down. I make myself wait exactly 7 days. If a full week goes by and I still genuinely think about it and it provides real tangible value to my life, I'll buy it. But I promise you, 90% of the time after 3 days, I completely forget I even wanted it. The excitement fades. You realize you were just bored or chasing a dopamine hit from the act of shopping itself. Stop chasing logos and marketing. Start calculating the cost per use. A $50 pair of shoes that hurts your feet and you wear twice is a terrible value. A $200 pair of boots that you wear every single day for 3 years is an incredible value. Be intentional. Now we have meticulously covered 90% of your money. It's growing, it's protected, and your baseline life is covered. But what about the absolute last 10%? This is my favorite part of the entire framework, and honestly, it is the secret sauce to making this whole system work for years and decades. 10% of your income goes toward rewards. Listen to me very closely. I am not here to tell you to eat unflavored rice and beans for the next 40 years, sit in a dark room, and never see the sunlight just so you can be rich when your knees don't work anymore. If you deprive yourself of all joy, if you make your financial journey a miserable punishment, you will eventually snap. You will burn out, rebel against your own budget, and blow $5,000 on a stupid impulse purchase in Las Vegas. It is human psychology. Diets that restrict everything fail. Financial diets are the exact same. That is why you absolutely need this 10% bucket. I want you to open a completely separate checking account. Call it your joy jar. Every single time you get paid, 10% goes directly in there. This is your guilt-free money. The only rule for this account is that you must spend it on things that bring you absolute, undeniable joy. And ideally, research shows you should spend it on experiences rather than physical junk. Use this 10% to take your partner on an amazing weekend getaway. Buy those front row tickets to see your absolute favorite band. Go skydiving. Take a cooking class. Pay for a really nice, expensive steak dinner with your parents and pick up the check. When I look back at my life, specifically my 20s, I don't remember the designer clothes I thought I needed. I don't remember the expensive watch. I remember the road trips I took with my best friends. I remember the laughs we shared in a tiny Airbnb. I remember the memories. This 10% ensures that you actually enjoy the journey of building wealth. It refuels your soul. It reminds you exactly why you are working so hard and staying disciplined with the other 90%. It proves to your brain that having money is actually fun and useful right now, rather than just waiting until you are 80 years old to finally start living. But remember, this bucket has boundaries. If your joy jar hits 0, you are done. You do not borrow from your stability fund. You do not skip a month of investing. You wait until next month's paycheck refills the jar. That scarcity is what makes the rewards feel so incredibly good. All right, before we wrap up, let's do a quick, powerful recap of what you have learned today so you can walk away from this podcast and start executing immediately. First, the 25% Freedom Fund. This is your non-negotiable growth money. Invested in assets like low-cost index funds, real estate, or high-income skills so your money makes more money while you sleep. Stop working for money and make it work for you. Second, the 15% Stability Fund. Build a financial bulletproof vest. Save 5 months of bare minimum emergency living expenses in a high-yield savings account so a bad day or a broken laptop doesn't ruin your life or force you into debt. Third, the 50% Essentials Bucket. Audit your life ruthlessly. Keep your core living expenses low. Avoid the trap of lifestyle creep at all costs. And always remember the 1-week wait rule before buying things you absolutely don't need. And finally, the 10% Rewards Bucket. Spend this completely guilt-free on memorable, incredible experiences to prevent burnout, keep your passion alive, and actually enjoy the fruits of your hard-earned success today. If you completely align your finances with this simple 4-part framework, you are no longer playing the game by the rules designed by a system that wants to keep you broke. You are playing the game exactly like the top 1%. And it is only a matter of time before you get there. Thank you so much for hanging out and tuning in to Grow with Tony today. If this episode brought you massive value, if it shifted your mindset even a little bit, please do me a favor. Hit that like button, smash the subscribe button, and don't forget to click the bell icon so you never miss an episode. And hey, let me know down in the comments, what topic do you want me to cover next? I read all of them and I make these episodes for you. Remember, true wealth isn't an accident. It is a decision. Make the right decision today. I'll catch you in the next episode.